Welcome to the show, sports fans. This is the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
Right, welcome in another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down District 3 activities week in, week out in the great state of Idaho. My name is Brandon Baney. You're getting casual, Brandon, today. I'm rocking the Montana Grizzlies hoodie, and here's a fellow guy with Big Sky pride. It's our Treasure Valley resident and expert, Logan Green. What's up, LG?
Brandon, just rocking my Vandal stuff. I always wear my Vandal stuff, but especially this week after that win over Nevada. I heard from a lot of fans of other colors that Vandals can't compete with Mountain West teams. And they you know what? Guess who gave up less points than USC to Nevada? So I'm liking the Vandals' chances against Cal this weekend. We'll see about that.
Yeah, I feel like the world is upside down in Idaho college football, where Boise State is 0-2 with two, let's be honest, not very competitive games. Idaho is 3-0 or 2-0?
2-0.
2-0. Seeking their first 3-0 start since the early 90s, I believe. And then Idaho State is 0-2, but played pretty competitively, and Bengals fans are kind of excited. There's actual enthusiasm for the program for a change.
Yeah, no, I think there is. When they hung in there with San Diego State, and then I know Utah State beat them by 50, but they put up a lot of points in that game. And you know what? It looks good, right? It looks good, and you know what? That also helps our local kids, right? That you want to play for a good team, and that if those two are good, everybody wins in the state, right? Because, people are going to want to play there instead of leaving, which seems to happen a lot, right? Where some of the athletes might leave or whatever. Vandals women's soccer is really good this year, and they beat a couple of Mountain West teams as well. There's good stuff going on right now in the Big Sky. Not that that's what this chat is about, but you know what? I think the Vandals might have a glimmer of chance against Cal. They're not going to get blown out. So last year they hung with their two Power 5 teams that they played. Only lost to Washington State by a score late. So we'll see what happens. It would be crazy if they started 3-0 with wins over Nevada and Cal. So.
Yeah, it would be not likely, but a cool story, certainly. And so you mentioned women's soccer at the University of Idaho, and that allows us to pivot into our first topic here today, Logan, which is girls soccer, and particularly the 5A SIC, which is just chock full of really good teams that continue to just beat up on each other. Last night, we had Rocky Mountain and Owyhee do battle. It was a scoreless game at halftime, 0-0, and both teams have excellent keepers, especially Bia Levi for Rocky Mountain. She's phenomenal back in goal. And you thought, okay, this might come down to a play or two to decide the game, and it did. It came down to a penalty kick, Logan. Victoria Pislari for Owyhee finds the back of the net on the PK in the second half for a 1-0 win for the Storm. The Owyhee athletic team was able to get footage of the PK that won the game, and they shared it on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We're going to share it here. So if you're watching this on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel or Facebook page, you'll be able to see what we're talking about. If you're listening audio only at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts, I would encourage you to seek out this clip and find it because it's pretty cool. So here it is, Logan.
Bottom right, not even a chance.
And that was it. I mean,
yeah,
and
didn't
you
even try. It was right on point there in the bottom right.
Yeah, and so you saw Bia Levi, the Rocky keeper, totally thought she was going the opposite way, right? Going to the left, and it wasn't even close to make the play. And so that's a good pre-fake out there by Vic. So way to go, Owyhee. Vic Pislari with the game-winning penalty kick for Owyhee. Storm get out of there with a 1-0 win.
Yeah, and right now, everybody's always chasing Boise, right? That seems to be it, or chasing Rocky Mountain in this sport specifically. Timberline in that mix too, but right now, Owyhee 4-0-1 in conference, 7-0-1 overall. They haven't lost a game this season, and just watch out. What has Owyhee not been able to find success in their short history, right? This is year 3. And they're only, that tie came against Eagle, and they'll play Boise in 1 week. So that one could be fun. Both teams could come into that one probably undefeated up to that point.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how everything transpires, where Owyhee's in this stretch of 3 tough matches. They took out Rocky. They will then play Timberline and Boise back-to-back next Tuesday and Wednesday. Those are the 2 teams they're looking up at in the standings, Logan. So who knows? Owyhee with a new coach this year, Madison Brown, doing really nice things. So,
and it's funny, they both play Timberline and Boise. So Owyhee plays Timberline on Tuesday, and on Thursday, Rocky will play them. And then, Wednesday they play Boise, Owyhee does, and then the next Tuesday. So it's kind of funny. They both have back-to-backs against those 2 teams. So, a tough stretch for Timberline and Boise. You look at it from their side, right? They've got to go through. There's these 4 teams are all going to battle each other over the next week and a half, really. And right now, Owyhee has that step up going into this mini tournament, we'll call it. It's not a real tournament. Now the NBA is doing that. They're going to play like a tournament in the middle of the season. This year, it's kind of weird, but yeah, it should be fun to see who comes out of that. That might give us some idea of how things might look at districts. And it'll be important for district seeding, right? What happens over the next week will bear weight into the rest, continuing on to districts and then the state tournament.
Yeah, so Boise is 8-0 in league play. Timberline is 6-0-1. The one draw was with Centennial. They have two ties overall this year. I had to find the one that was in conference. They tied Centennial 4-4, just a shootout. Owyhee is 5-0-1. Bora is 4-2. Eagle is 4-2-1. Rocky is 3-2-2. So that top 6 really, I think, all capable of beating each other on any given night. That district tournament's going to be wild.
Yeah, and we did some of those games last year, and they were competitive the entire way. Every minute of that game, both ways, it could have gone either way. I think one of them was Boise and Rocky, I think was one. I can't remember the Eagle and Owyhee, I think was the other one. And you know what? We could see those same 4 right in the mix once again, but we'll see what happens. And again, it comes down to the stretch, and these 2 and whoever. What we've seen the last couple of years is whoever wins the district over here has had a great run at the state tournament, and I wouldn't expect it to be any other way this year.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take a look real quickly at what else is going on in girls soccer at the 4A level. Bishop Kelly continues to excel. Their only loss came to Owyhee earlier this year, and it was 2-1. Otherwise, they're undefeated. They're 8-1. Valley View kind of quietly putting together a nice season. They got into the coaches poll this week, Logan, our girls soccer coaches poll, which you can find on IdahoSports.com. Valley View is kind of quietly 7-2. And so they've got a chance here. They lost to Bishop Kelly earlier this year, 6-4. So they definitely put the ball in the back of the net. The rematch comes next Tuesday, Logan, at BK. What do you think in this rematch?
You look at what Bishop Kelly has done all year, right? Let's look at Bishop Kelly's. They beat Timberline, who we were just talking about, 5-3. They lost to Owyhee 2-1. So they gave up 5 goals right there in those 2 games to top level 5A SIC schools, and then they gave up 4 to Valley View alone. That's their highest, scoring allowment, whatever you want to call it, on the year, that they gave up 4 to Valley View. And then since that game, they've only given up 1 goal the whole time. And so if I'm Valley View, I say, you know what, we're good. And I think that they have every right to say that, you know what, everything's looking good for us right now because we put up 4. Like you said, they found the back of the net. They gave up 6, but they put up 4. And, Bishop Kelly puts up a lot of goals, 7 against Skyview, 9 against Caldwell, 5 against Centennial, 9 against Ridgevue, 5 on Columbia. So they're going to score. That's what's going to happen, right? But can you keep up with them? And Valley View did in one game. They didn't keep up enough, but they put up more than anybody else had. So, if anybody's got a chance, Valley View, look out. They'll play on Tuesday. So about what is today? Thursday?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. So less than a week away for that one. And I don't know what you think, Brendan, but I think they got a chance at it, at least to put some goals in the back of the net again.
Yeah, well, I think Valley View's got a great warm-up to Bishop Kelly. They'll play Eagle in a non-conference match actually tonight, Logan, September 14th, and that'll be a good warm-up to what Bishop Kelly might pose to them. 3A, it is a collision course, Fruitland and Homedale. We talked about Homedale didn't even have a program like 4 years ago, and now here they are competing and being one of the best teams in the state. They play tonight, Logan. They play September 14th in Fruitland. These two have been on a collision course all season long. Homedale's only loss came to LeGrand, Oregon. Otherwise, they are 3-0-1, and I guess they tied LeGrand. Actually, that's Fruitland who lost to LeGrand. That's their only loss of the year. And Homedale, their only setback came, as we said, in a tie. So they're 3-0-1. They tied Emmett earlier this year. So.
Yeah, and they've taken care of business against other conference opponents. They beat a 5A school at Nampa, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. And then that ties against Emmett, again, a 3A school. Man, Homedale coming in strong. And, they didn't, like you said, didn't have a team, but another school that just is successful in everything, right? And if you can beat Fruitland, I think you say, okay, we've arrived, because that's a team that, they won it all last year, right? In Fruitland, and they score a ton of goals. And watch out for the Grizzlies watch out for the Trojans if they can take out Fruitland. I think that will wake up some people. Maybe they say right now, things are slow, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? If you beat Fruitland, that's no joke. And I think even if you're competitive, lose by a goal or even tie, I think Homedale is here.
Yeah, and for Fruitland, they did lose quite a bit to graduation, but there are still some remnants of that program that was competing for state championships not that long ago. Players like Faith Newman, who saw a lot of playing time as a freshman last year, Sophia Gibb, Riley George. So they've got Fruitland's not chopped liver either. They're pretty good still. Yeah.
Yeah, and you look at comparable, they both have beat Nampa and they both have beat McCall Donnelly. So, and they both similar, one beat one by more and the other beat the other by more. So I think, it's going to be a good, even matchup when those two play.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see, of course, Abby Rubidoux is not walking through that door for Fruitland. She was such
She's not going to put up 4 goals, averaging 4 a game. You don't have that in your back pocket, but they've still been able to score the ball well.
Yeah, so that'll be really fun. We'll have to talk about Fruitland Homedale soccer on the girls' side on next week's Prepcast, as they will play tonight as we're recording this on September 14th, Thursday. All right, let's talk about cross country, Logan. We were at Freeman Park in Idaho Falls last week to broadcast the annual Tiger-Grizz cross country meet, co-hosted by Skyline and Idaho Falls High Schools. We had some Treasure Valley teams come over. We had Centennial and Owyhee was there. Parma came over, Nampa Christian.
Yeah.
But of course, the big story with cross country always is Rocky Mountain. And no surprise, Rocky Mountain came over, won the boys' elite team title. So just doing what Rocky does. Cody Lucas won the seeded race as well. He came in with a time that was better than the course record at Freeman Park. His first race of the year was outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't set a new record because it was a really hot day, and Freeman Park can be a tough place to navigate. But he still won, still turned in an impressive performance.
Yeah, this park has got hills all over the place, up and down. You run alongside the river. You zig and you zag, you go through the trees. And so it's definitely a tough course. But I'll say this, Brandon, and this is something I didn't know. I did not run cross country. And it's probably the toughest sport. It's one of the toughest sports. I know people might say, oh, you're just going out for a run. But multiple times there are people that cross that. I mean, not, and I won't say it is more than not. People come across that line and they look like they have just, been gotten out of a traumatic experience, gone through a horrifying haunted house where they had to sprint the whole time or something kids collapsing, kids just coming across the line and losing their lunch. Right. And we saw one that was just in tears, not even halfway, about halfway through the race. And they come across and they gave it their all. And they just worked so hard for that short window of time. And it's very impressive. And so to be able to be good at cross country, like Rocky Mountain is, that takes a lot of work, to be able to do that and to win races in the style that they do. It wasn't particularly close in that seeded race. And the next guy behind it was Corbin Johnson from North Fremont. And he's a fast dude. He's not a slouch either. He's won multiple state championships to a level, and he was right there in the mix. He was, I don't know, do you remember 30 seconds behind, something like that? And
yeah,
that's tough to do. And to have as many people as you can finish that high up in a race is impressive, that you've got enough people. It's easy to have one or two kids that can run a long way, but to have 6, 7, 8 that can all finish very high. Because I'm telling you, there was kids we saw it, that would just come across the line and look kind of at everybody and just fall down or just stumble. And there's people there, come on, you got to get up. And like I said, no, we're not exaggerating. We say crying, people coming across the line, crying. And I'm very impressed with cross-country athletes in general from what we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, it was a really great time. The annual Tiger-Grizz invite, Rocky Mountain did exceptionally well, and congrats to all the athletes out there who pushed themselves. And at the 1A level, Ezra Hubbard from Rockland won the B division race, which is basically the small schools, 3A, 2A, 1A. And Marlo Herford wrote a great recap of Tiger-Grizz for us on IdahoSports.com. And the story there is, of course, 1A cross country has been dominated by Ian Stockett from Victory Charter for the last several seasons. Well, he's now graduated. So Ezra Hubbard's going, all right, here's my chance. I'm going to, be contending for the 1A championship. Well, here comes Ian's little brother, Luke Stockett. And so, you talk to people and they seem to think it's heading to this showdown between Ezra Hubbard of Rockland and the younger Stockett from Victory Charter. And can Ezra Hubbard finally, vanquish the Stockett family from Victory Charter?
Right. And it would have been fun if he had come over for that race. Then we could have gotten a little taste. But I guess we'll just have to wait for state and see how that goes.
Yeah, it should be interesting for sure. All right, let's wrap up with football talk today, Logan. We have to talk about something that didn't even happen on the field of play, and I don't like talking about it. This will be the first and last time we talk about this, but 2 weeks ago, Ridgevue was supposed to play Pocatello in football. Their bus got stuck in traffic because of a bad fatality accident on the interstate right around Twin Falls, something like that. Ridgevue gets to Pocatello around 9:30, realizes their bus driver doesn't have enough hours if they play the game, so they turn around and go back home. Pocatello had hard feelings. I think Ridgevue ultimately had hard feelings. We covered this pretty extensively on our East Idaho Prepcast, and I kind of laid it out for both sides, Ridgevue and Pocatello. I think both schools think they're in the right, and both schools, it's probably... This is like not a black and white issue, right? There's areas of gray. Ridgevue can feel like they did everything correctly, and Pocatello can feel like they did everything correctly, and everybody can still feel unsatisfied. That's a fact of life. But long story short, Pocatello yesterday officially wrote a letter of apology to Ridgevue High School. This was all based off an interview that Pocatello football coach Dave Spillett did on Saturday after the cancellation with the local TV station down there in Pocatello. So,
yeah, and like you said, I think both, it's hard to see it from the other. You can say, oh, I see it from your point of view, but it's really hard to actually feel the emotions on the other side. It's easy to see what's going on and have a rational conversation about it, but to have the emotions on it is really tough. And so, they can be civil about it, like they, Pocatello reaching out and apologizing, but it stems from, you don't know everything, right? Pocatello wants to play a game, right? That's what's their mind, right? Their mind is, I want to play a football game. I'll do anything I can to make this football game happen. And Ridgevue's thinking, we just spent forever on a bus, and it is a long time. I've made many cross-country drives, and after 9, 10, 11 hours in a car, there is nothing I want to do more than not play a football. Nobody wants to do that. I can't imagine. All I want to do is get out and go to bed. That's what I want to do. I don't even want to sit and watch TV at that point. I want to get out and just be done with my day. And so I can imagine it's tough. It is just tough. And like you said, I don't think anybody was necessarily wrong, and nobody's necessarily right in the argument. I say the air quotes argument. I don't think, they both it was a tough situation, and they were just on the fly trying to navigate it. And I don't have a yes or no, right or wrong answer on it. I think just tough situation that had to be dealt with. And somebody wasn't going to be happy with what somebody else said, no matter what.
Yeah. The timing of it seems weird to me. I mean, if Pocatello was really, sorry about what happened, you would have thought the apology would have come sooner than, 10 days later. This seems like, I don't know. You see sometimes where people make statements or put out press releases, and it's because somebody higher up told them to do it. I don't know. The timing seems weird to me. Like if it was truly sincerely, hey, we're sorry. I would think you would have reached out sooner. So,
and my thought is maybe that it's emotion. Like maybe because I act like this sometimes, like I might not come out and say, hey, I'm sorry for what I said, but I try to, look what I did. They tried very hard, at least from what we've heard, to make up for it, right? Okay, you're late. We'll pay for the bus. We'll come over there. We'll meet you somewhere. And I think maybe it's possible. I know that's sometimes how I am, right? If I try to fix it, maybe I say, this is me. I would just assume that they know that I'm sorry about the situation, and that me offering to try and fix it is my olive branch, right? To offering, I know this is tough. Let me try to fix it. But when it comes to what was said, yeah, it's maybe they were just assuming that they, look what we did. We felt bad for the situation, but maybe this is more of an apology for the conversation that occurred afterwards. So
yeah,
I saw Laclama saying something about it on Twitter, X, whatever, as well. Just kind of, he posted it and talked about it a little bit, and saying that the comments were misrepresented or something to that effect, and that they wanted to clarify that. So does it matter what was going to happen in that game? Probably not. We all probably know how it was going to go, but Pocatello is probably thinking long-term, right? Is how does my, unfortunately you got to think of it from both sides. And I think that's always a tough situation in any unfortunate event, right? Is, okay, that happened, but this is going to affect things going forward, right? They don't have a game now on their schedule for that week. Could it have improved their seeding come state tournament time? There are effects that are going to have ripples. And this is what I think about talking about football in East Idaho, right? With Rigby and Bonneville. They had a game canceled. And have you confirmed, did that one finish final 7-0? Is that what they're putting it in as?
Yeah, that was the score when the game was called.
Okay. So long story short, I'm sure you guys talked about it on another one. Rigby and Bonneville, there was a traumatic injury during a game with a leg, and Bonneville didn't want to continue playing, and so they stop it at 7-0. There's a lot that goes into that, a lot of unfortunate things, but man, you look at it and say, because of what we've done with Max Preps, that will have. Now it's only a 7-point victory for Rigby. I know that sounds rude of me to look past what happened, but it's a true thing that this is something that maybe is not considered. And we talked about this, Brandon, on our summer thing, that maybe there needs to be some element added into state tournament selection, human element, right? And this could affect Rigby, right? Where they all of a sudden only have a 7-point victory over a team that doesn't finish very high. And that could end up, if they don't finish with an automatic bid to state, where a 5A SIC team gets a bid instead. Because there will be ripple effects, and there will be ripple effects going forward for Ridgevue and Pocatello. It will happen just because of what we have done with our state tournaments. That, for better or for worse, that's something that will happen. Anytime a game is canceled or adjusted or ended early, there will be ripple effects going forward.
Yeah, I will say on Rigby should just worry about winning. they haven't done much of that this year. But
that's what I mean. That's what I mean,
yeah.
Right? They're not the Rigby of the past 4 years. Clearly, they played some really good teams, but they're not the same as they were. And if they're fighting for a spot, maybe that algorithm that we have no idea how it's truly calculated dings them for that, right? When maybe it says, oh, look, Bora, you had better results. We're going to take you instead. So, that kind of leads over to how much I'll just end with that everything has ripple effects. It's an unfortunate situation, everything. We're not taking any side on anything. But Pocatello is probably going to win that game, and convincingly, if we're honest. So,
yeah,
might not have mattered too much, but it's too bad all the way around. So,
yes. And there was, I think that was a point of contention. Also, Pocatello wanted it to go as a forfeit loss by Canyon Ridge, which officially would go down as 15-0. That's the maximum that the Max Preps algorithm takes into account for margin of victory. So anytime a team forfeits, it's a 15-0 win. So Pocatello wanted that, and for a brief time, Sunday morning, Monday morning, whatever, it was on Max Preps as a forfeit. That clearly got changed, and Ridgevue said, no way, we're forfeiting this. So I think that was another point of contention. It officially just goes down as a no contest. So anyways, let's look ahead to what's happening this week, Logan. We've got 3 Treasure Valley games for you here on IdahoSports.com, 2 at the 8-man level and 1 at the 5A level. We've got Nampa traveling to Kuna. This is an interesting, Kuna's 0-2 in their division, but they've played 2 really tough teams.
Yeah, and they're they've won obviously their first 2, and they've fallen 2 here. But I think they beat Centennial. I guess they beat Skyview, who's a different. But Eagle and Bora, and I think that speaks more to Bora being really good, probably better than people thought. I think that was the game that maybe opened some eyes on Bora. But the whole league is a mess. And it's a good mess. It's not a bad mess. It is you can get that circular, right? They beat them, they beat them, they beat them. You can go almost all the way around. It is a wild mess, and it's good for the Treasure Valley. It's good for District 3 that it's like that, because I think you're going to see some of those automatic bids, or, those at-large bids, they're going to come from here. I think they are at the end of the day. Sorry, other districts, but, because of how competitive it's been at the top, and what they've been able to do outside of conference and beating pretty much anybody they played away, right, outside of the conference so far, it's looked really good. Obviously, we're going to get a taste of that when Meridian plays Highland. I think that will be a huge one. That's in a couple of weeks. We'll get to that when it comes. But that Kuna Nampa game, Nampa is looking to get a win. I mean, they went to state last year. They're not going to stay down forever. And this could be a make or break game for Kuna. If Kuna can win it and get back on the right track, maybe they can make their run like they did last year. And they've got Mountain View and Owyhee and Boise after that. Those are 3. You don't think of Boise as traditionally being a tough game, but it is now. The whole thing's a mess, because even with Owyhee, right? Owyhee beats Mountain View this week, and Mountain View, Owyhee lost to Boise the week, but again, it's a mess.
Yeah, there's a lot to be sorted out here over the next few weeks as everybody plays each other for sure. And then 2 8-man games this week. We've got Notice hosting Grace on Friday in a non-conference 1A D1 battle, 6 o'clock kickoff. And then we also have Council at the 1A D2 level hosting Kamei, a team that's licking its wounds a little bit after getting roughed up pretty good by Logos last week up north. So 2 non-conference 8-man football games from the 2 teams that have owned their respective leagues the past several seasons, Notice and Council.
Yeah. I think this is good for Notice, right? So we saw them go up and play Clearwater, and they took care of business there. But this is a conversation we've had multiple times, right? Is that when is District 3 and 1AD1 going to get a win in the playoffs? They get there, and then they traditionally take their loss and go home, right, in the first round. It hasn't been successful lately. And so for Notice, right, playing a team like Grace went to the state championship last year. You're going to get a chance against a very good team to either show that you're competitive, beat them, or, say, okay, we got a lot of work on before state comes around, because right now it's looking like Notice is the clear-cut favorite in that conference once again. They look really good, as they always do. So this will give us we saw what they can do against a team from up north. Let's see what they can do against a team from Eastern Idaho. And it's good. You can learn from it, right? You can make adjustments. You can work on what you need to work on, so that when state comes and you're going to play a team from District 4, 5, or 6 in the tournament, and you know what? Kind of what you need to work on to be ready for that.
Yeah, and Grace did make the 1AD1 championship game last year, so this is a big measuring stick for Notice. The rest of that conference is running on fumes right now. Wilder had to call their game at halftime last week because of too many injuries. The Greenleaf Friends, Centennial Baptist, Gem State Co-op has kind of dissolved. They didn't have enough players. They are trying to appeal to the IHSAA to allow the players from that team that still want to play to join Wilder. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but Greenleaf Friends is no more this year, it sounds like. So that it's a league in general that's really running on fumes here. Idaho City has struggled, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I just want everybody to get through the season. Yeah,
I would hope that they would allow that to happen, because let's be honest here. Who's going to win that league? It's going to be Notice. Wilder is not going to make the playoffs, no matter.
Well, they might. The league gets 2 bids.
Okay, that's true. But they're not going to. I think you should let it happen, because I just don't. What's better for the kids, right? I think that either you don't get to play football at all, or you get to go join somebody else. I think that that's the right, personally, in my opinion, because it's not going to bear weight on what happens at this. I'll say that it's not going to bear weight on what happens at the state tournament. It's just not. It's not going to affect what happens, and it's going to help 4 different schools out that have football that want it to happen. Because if Wilder is having injury problems, just let those kids go and play with Wilder and at least have one team. Like that's politically, rule book, red tape wise, maybe I'm totally wrong here, but I think the human emotion, the human factor of me and anybody else would say, would you rather those kids not be playing a sport, or let them get together and let them play in one team that might win a spot to state potentially, but it's probably not going to win a game at the state tournament?
Right. Yep. So we'll see what happens there. But I agree with you. More opportunities for more kids. Let's go get it. There's more than just wins and losses in life sometimes. So for sure. All right. Well, that'll do it for this edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast. Enjoy the competitions this weekend, everybody, and enjoy the 3 games we've got for you on IdahoSports.com. CUNA and Nampa, Notice and Grace, Council and Kamei should be 3 really good ones. For Logan Green, I'm Brandon Baney, and we'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.